The Yakuza series is a video game series that needs no introduction, although starting out as a very niche Japanese game entry that didn't see very much success at all in the West. Compared to now, it's a night and day difference. Yakuza now is a household name in the West. It gets announced at E3. RGG has their own event where they announce things. And it's a beauty to see how far that the Dragon Engine has come. Recently, I remember watching the Game Awards where they announced the trailer for Project Sentry, which is a new game that RGG Studios is working on, which, dude, that shit looks beautiful. As someone who has played the entire Yakuza series other than the originals, I've never played the original Yakuza or Yakuza 2, but I have played 0, KIWAMI, KIWAMI 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 multiple times. I've even platinumed a few of them, which that shit will take your sanity, but the game looks phenomenal. The graphics look amazing, the character models are beautiful, the environment is breathtaking. I genuinely cannot wait to get my hands on it. And in glazing the game in my mind and thinking about how beautiful this looks, I kind of just sat and thought, and I was like, well, Yakuza 8 just came out last year, and this appears to be a completely new IP, so it just made me kind of wonder, what really is Project Sentry? And then after that, how does this tie into the RGG catalog when it comes to the other big series in it, like Yakuza and Judgment? From what I've seen online, what I believe that Project Sentry will be is it's going to be a game of its own. It's going to be its own IP, and I feel like it's going to tie into Yakuza in the sense that from the research I've done, this game takes place in the Taisho era, which was between 1912 and 1926, and is most commonly known for decreasing the price of kimonos and the adoption of more Western styles, the events of World War I, and the Great Kanto earthquake. And most forms of media, including like anime, manga, movies, TV shows, usually don't use this era just for the fact that there wasn't a lot that happened, considering the fact that this era is kind of crammed in between like two of the most important eras in Japanese history, because it comes right after the Meiji era and then it's right before the Showa era, which the Meiji era, if you guys consume any kind of anime or any kind of Japanese culture, you are more than likely familiar with the Meiji era. And then the Showa era comes right after the Taisho era, which had some very important impacts on the Japanese world, such as the first bullet train and the development of modern Japanese culture, with things like manga and anime picking up drastic traction. And when I was looking into more things, I noticed that related to this year, a lot of people were talking about online the outfit for the main character of this game looks like a old-fashioned, which would be interesting because people were theorizing based on the fact of that if the main character is indeed a dock worker, then that would relate heavily to a real-life Yakuza who is known as probably as one of the most important Yakuza, the Yamaguchi Gumi, which is known as Japan's largest Yakuza organization. It was founded by Yarukichi Yamaguchi in Kobe right before World War II. Yamaguchi Gumi was mostly known for getting money through ways of extortion, gambling, working women with strict chaperones, arms trafficking, real estate, stock market manipulation, and internet. And the other things that Yamaguchi Gumi was mostly known for were having a very strong sense of exercising discipline and loyalty. He was very big on people having very good morals, and he, in essence, laid the foundation for the modern structure of the Yakuza with things like the families, subordinates, and things of that nature. And he was also known a lot for giving disaster relief during important events and giving back to communities in times of need. Now, how that correlates in is people have theorized that, being an RGG game, Yakuzas are pretty much the Yakuza is pretty much tied to whatever it is they do, because that is more or less their biggest title. So people were immediately saying that this very well could be a game based on the Yamaguchi Gumi. Whether or not you actually are going to play as the Harukichi Yamaguchi, I'm not sure. I would say more than likely Probably not. There's not many games out there where you play as the exact historical figures and of that nature. I would assume, because it's a video game, they're probably going to be, changing some events, making things a little more dramatic, or, like making things for the story element. But that is why I think that this game will have a very interesting story. And even if all of that speculation from the internet is completely wrong and it's something completely unrelated, the gameplay has some of the most beautiful gameplay I've seen from RGG. The graphics look absolutely phenomenal. The combat looks absolutely phenomenal. This truly could be the best RGG game in terms of gameplay and story, depending on where they take it. And I am over the moon thinking about the fact that they're going to be releasing this soon. And then that leads me on to my second question of, okay, so let's say that is what Project Sentry is. Then how does that tie in to the Yakuza series, and what does that mean for what's coming next? My three personal wish lists, what I would love to have come next from RGG: KIWAMI 3. Please God, RGG, make KIWAMI 3. A third Judgment game, which is fairly unlikely, and I'll get into that why in a minute. And then lastly, which has pretty much already been confirmed to not be the next game, but would be Yakuza 9. Those are the immediate games that I was excited about, thinking about. But then you can't talk about what's coming next without talking about Like a Dragon, Yakuza Pirate in Hawaii, which was just announced back in September at Like a Dragon Direct, which sees Majima for the first time being the solo protagonist instead of being the dual protagonist, getting the center stage and getting his own game and getting multiple fighting styles like he did in Zero. And from the trailers, we can infer that Like a Dragon, Yakuza Pirate in Hawaii is going to be a direct sequel to Infinite Wealth, while also being a spin-off, but also being canon. So from what I've seen online and what we can infer from the trailers and such, it seems that this game will take place shortly after the events of Infinite Wealth, and it'll just kind of be a fun, cool way to tie Majima into the story. So it's not really going to affect the main timeline. So the question for me would be Yakuza 9 being the next Ichiban installment that will continue the events right after Hawaii. Maybe it'll be taking place during Pirate in Hawaii, I'm not sure. But Yakuza 3 KIWAMI has been confirmed by RGG's executive producer, Masayoshi Yokoyama, has publicly stated that he would definitely love to do KIWAMI 3, and I believe he said he wanted to do it sooner than later. So, I mean, me personally, I love Yakuza 3. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of aspects of it, but I do think it has one of the most important structures for the story, and I also think it's nice to see Kiryu at his absolute happiest. I feel like it would do a lot of good to have KIWAMI, KIWAMI 2, and KIWAMI 3. Because in my opinion, I love 4. I don't think 4 needs a KIWAMI, because at that point they'd just be doing what Resident Evil is doing, where they're just remaking the entire series. But I would love to see Yakuza 3 KIWAMI, and love to get people to experience a more definitive and polished version of the game. This leads me into the next one, was a Judgment 3. As much as I would love a Judgment 3, I think that would be very unlikely due to a lot of legal issues regarding the man who they scanned and used his face and likeness for Yagami. The agency that was managing him is not doing so well, so I don't know how that would hold up legally. I don't know what kind of complications that would cause, but that does lead me to believe that a new Judgment game is more than likely off the table for a while, if not ever, because I don't know how they would resolve that or how that goes, because I have no legal knowledge to that regard, especially not even in Japan's politics. And then lastly, Yakuza 9, which I would say maybe, because Yakuza has been pumping out games quite frequently lately, but with how polished and beautiful Project Sentry is, will that delay other titles because they're using more resources and more teams? I'm not entirely sure, but I would guess that Yakuza 9 has to be coming soon. I have no clue when it would be, or if it's even in development, because I feel like right now they have their two biggest games are, people have been dying for a Majima game, especially since Zero. People have been dying to have a Majima solo game. So to have people's wishes finally come true with Like a Dragon, Yakuza Pirate in Hawaii, people are over the moon to deal with that. And then on top of that, now we're getting Project Sentry, which looks like them completely ditching entirely working on Yakuza related stuff. So no Kiryu, no Majima related stories, and just purely focusing on a new IP and how they could use the Dragon Engine and and increasing the quality of their combat like they did with the Judgment series, like they did with The Man Who Erased His Name. And I personally cannot wait to see what they have in store. I believe that the most likely option, I think the only option out of the games that I would love to see, I think, is Yakuza Kiwami 3. And the reason I say that is because on top of all the other games having complications as to how they would be made, if you look in Yakuza 6, there's a scene where Kiryu is seeing multiple versions of Haruka, and they had a remade model of Haruka from Yakuza 3, which inherently wouldn't really be anything special. And I didn't really think about this, but I've been watching some videos of people talking about stuff lately, and one thing I noticed was that RGG is not exactly known for not taking the easy way out when it comes to character models. A lot of things are asset flips in the sense of them reusing things, reusing models, reusing hairstyles, reusing color palettes and things like that. So it is kind of odd that this studio that, for example, in Yakuza 6, this studio which, for example, in Yakuza 8 completely took Chitose's hairstyle and used it for Haruka. They would just port the hair over and just reuse a hairstyle. But then when it comes to Yakuza having Haruka scenes, they would remake an entire model of Haruka from Yakuza 3. I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching. Maybe I'm just huffing severe copium, because in my opinion, I think Kiwami 2 is one of the best games in the series for just overall gameplay. Although its story is not the most important to the series, I wouldn't say it's my favorite in the series. I'd say it's probably top 3, and I feel like anyone who loves Yakuza can appreciate Kiwami 2, but I feel like a Kiwami 3 would be beautiful, especially to pair it next to Kiwami and Kiwami 2, and just to have that little trilogy intro to the series for new players, to have a more definitive and polished introduction to the series, get it going from 0 to Kiwami 2 to Kiwami 3, I feel like would really get people hooked, and I feel like it would just be beautiful to see all of the happy and sad moments of Yakuza 3 and the Like a Dragon engine. And yeah, so that's about it for this video. I want you guys to comment your thoughts and opinions below. What game are you looking most forward to, either Project Sentry or Like a Dragon, Yakuza Pirate in Hawaii? What's your guys' favorite Yakuza game in the series as of currently? And what game do you mostly want from RGG? If you could guarantee their next release, what would you make it? And with that, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like the video, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, share with all your Yakuza friends, share with anybody that you know that loves Yakuza, is looking forward to Project Sentry. And other than that, I'm gonna head out. See you guys.